Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Good evening. I'm Catherine Reed, filling in tonight for Bettina Lawton here on Inside Scoop, Virginia. My guest this evening is the Executive Director of Our Daily Bread Fairfax, Lisa Wetzel. Thank you so much for being here tonight, Lisa.
Thank you for having me.
So, full disclosure, I am a member of the Board of Directors of Our Daily Bread Fairfax, and actually I was going to be a guest tonight before I ended up substituting for Bettina. So let me say from the outset, I'm a very proud member of our Board of Directors. I fully embrace the mission of Our Daily Bread, and one of the reasons that Bettina asked us to be here is so that the greater community understands the services that we provide, because that's not always evident from the name Our Daily Bread. Perhaps you could fill us in on how that name came to be.
Sure. So we actually are just starting a historical video to capture our 30 years, and we had some founders that came in, and during the interview I learned a lot about how we originated. I mean, we've had some stuff on file, but it was interesting to hear it straight from the mouth of one of the founders. And it started as an interfaith effort between 8 or more church congregations in the Northern Virginia area, mostly Fairfax County, Vienna, Oakton, Fairfax area. And they started out serving the homeless population, because at that time there really wasn't anything at all to help them. And over the course of, and so they decided to call it Our Daily Bread, because across all the congregations they all could relate to the concept of a daily sustenance to help people.
That is one of the basic needs.
Right. Housing,
food, definitely in Maslow's hierarchy. Right. We have to start there.
Right, right. Yeah, so it was very interesting, and so over the course of 3 or 4 years, once the county started to provide more services and other nonprofits provided more services for the homeless, we decided to change our focus to serve a population that's considered the working poor, people who are working full-time jobs, but they're barely making ends meet. And so we are still doing that today. And we provide emergency services to low to moderate income families in the Fairfax County area. Well,
what are some of the hurdles that our clients face? I mean, on a typical call or a typical referral from the county, what are the issues that have brought them to Our Daily Bread?
Right. Well, we do an annual client survey, and from those results, we have found that one of the largest, one of the biggest reasons that people come to Our Daily Bread is because of medical issues, bills that they have to repay and are having a hard time. And then it's just being able to pay their rent. And it's very expensive to live in Fairfax County and just in Northern Virginia in general. There's been studies that have shown that it takes about $60,000 for a family of 4 to be able to thrive in Northern Virginia. And a family making minimum wage is making about $15,000. So if you have a 2-income household making minimum wage, that's still really not enough to cover the cost of just paying rent.
Right, just never mind food, childcare, automobile expenses.
Right.
Because public transportation is not something everyone has access to across the county either. I mean, our public transportation tends to be very spotty, and the more suburban the area is, the less likely that people can actually use public transportation.
Right. We're one of the few nonprofits that actually provides financial assistance for car repair. And the comments that we get back from the people that we're helping that have received this assistance, they are so thankful, because if you're working paycheck to paycheck and your transmission goes out, it's $1,200. I mean, that's a rent payment.
That's hard for any of us, but for somebody who has very limited means, it is very hard. And I know that financial literacy programs and mentoring is something else that Our Daily Bread does as well, because this is not just a matter of giving stopgap resources, which are needed, but this is also helping people to understand, with their limited means, what they can do with that.
Right. And so I firmly believe that, you've got to be able to stabilize a family that's in a crisis. So emergency food assistance, emergency financial assistance, essential. But then once we get them somewhat stabilized, then we start to work with them, teach people how to manage their limited income. And we have a financial mentoring program. We work one-on-one. We have financial counseling clinics once a month up in Herndon and in Alexandria. And Financial Planners Association in the National Capital Area, they provide the volunteers. And so it's a really great partnership between two other nonprofits and that the financial planners to provide expertise advice, that someone making a limited income could never afford. So it's teaching people those skills and giving them objective advice of how to manage their money. It's very empowering for clients to receive that kind of help.
Do you ever run into problems or hurdles where some of these people are unbanked? I mean, there are a lot of payday lenders, particularly you mentioned Herndon and Alexandria, but particularly in Alexandria, you see a lot of payday lenders.
Right.
And this is one of the things that it just
horrible cycle to get into, and and frankly, there's not a lot that we can do about it. Because they're allowed to be there, and they establish themselves in areas that are, they have a market. And so having our financial mentors and teaching classes to over 700 adults, a year, we can try to prevent people from going to those. And teaching people to save for future financial crisis is really important. It's one of the things that we really emphasize.
So in doing that having a savings account really means getting them into the banking system. In other words, helping them to understand, because I think a lot of our clients sometimes come from backgrounds or countries where banks were not to be trusted. I mean, their governments were not to be trusted, their banks were not. So you have people who come here and really, they don't speak the language very well, some of them, and they have a real issue with trusting the services, including ours. I mean, we have to establish a trust base. Do you, in the future, see that programs to serve this population are going to be more critical? I know that Elizabeth Warren has talked about redoing our postal service and keeping it relevant by serving this population.
Yeah, I think that, Stephen Fuller out of George Mason, I've attended some events where he has shown some of his research, and part of, one of the things that he has uncovered is that the trend for the largest increase in jobs in the Northern Virginia area is low-wage jobs. And that's, I think, as a regional economic community, we need to be concerned about that, because here we are, we've got a population of people that are working hourly, and if for some reason they break their leg, they can't work, they can't pay the rent, and then it becomes a downward spiral. And so, and a lot of times they don't offer health insurance. And that can be debilitating, and so I think it's affordable housing that brings up the issue of affordable housing, just having places that as we develop within our area. I mean, I think it's wonderful, but we've got to remember that our baristas, our hairdressers, our the guy,
jobs.
all the service jobs. Your clerk your clerk at Giant, is somebody that could be vulnerable, and they need to be able to have a place to live just like all of us.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned Stephen J. Fuller, who's a professor of economics at George Mason University. I've also heard him speak. He does an annual economic summit in conjunction with Cardinal Bank every year, and so I heard him speak in January and saw the slides you're referring to where he's showing that the greatest percentage of growth in jobs, and it's 65% of new jobs, are going to be in service industries. They are low-wage jobs. So I'm going to give a plug because Stephen Fuller is actually speaking this Friday morning at the Tower Club through a sponsorship or a meeting of the Democratic Business Council of Northern Virginia. So I will let people know, if you want to hear more from Stephen Fuller, a presentation specifically about our regional economic growth, and that includes jobs, where the jobs are, then this Friday morning, come out to the Tower Club, 7:30 in the morning, and you'll get more information about that. But I think that is very key to all of this, is understanding that our federal contracting sector has been hit. I mean, we subsist a lot on federal contracting jobs. So a lot of what we're seeing, and we do talk about low-wage workers, but there's also middle-income families,
Right.
lower middle-income
Right.
families that suddenly, through some incident, end up being our clients.
Right. So during the shutdown, last fall, and then the I've forgotten the word, but anyway, just talking about the shutdown, we saw the impact of that sort of delayed. We really didn't start to see that until like November and December, because those folks that were affected were, it wasn't necessarily contractors or whatever, but it might have been the secretary, or we had one client who was a hairdresser, and she had virtually no business for several weeks, and that put her. So it does impact the economy in an interesting way that our Daily Bread can see.
Absolutely. And so as we rearrange our regional economics, because there are going to be shifts that happen just because of developments and how companies are coming in, and the fact that more technology companies are not necessarily creating more jobs. So a lot of companies are using technology and they're actually replacing some jobs. And so this also puts people into a pool where they've now got to retool their skills. Have we run into that situation where people are coming in and it's not just that they're looking for work, but they really need to retool their skills for a different job market? Right.
Well, so I'm not sure that I can really speak to that because we don't provide assistance for for job training. We're just getting into that with our Project Bridge program. It's a pilot program. But I definitely, anecdotally, I think that there is a need for job training, and it's difficult to orchestrate, because anybody that needs job training also needs to pay the rent.
Right. So how do you get training, which is generally not paid? You're not paid to be trained.
Right.
So
you really have to have a community that is willing to pull together, I think, and provide a way for them to retool. And one of the things that Northern Virginia Family Services has the program Training Futures. That's a great example of partnerships. And I was just reading in the paper the other day about how George Mason and Northern Virginia Community College and Fairfax County Public Schools are all working together to try to form this track of getting people to get to that point where they can get to college and then stay in college.
That is fascinating. Well, I think when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the services and how we work with other nonprofits in the community. So please join us when we return, and we'll talk with Lisa some more about Our Daily Bread Fairfax. Again, I'm Catherine Reed, and I'm filling in for Bettina Lawton. Thanks so much.
Some dreams are universal. Dreams that inspire us. Multiple sclerosis is a devastating disease that changes lives forever. The National MS Society does more for people with MS than any organization in the world. But we can't do it alone. To get involved, visit us online at nationalmssociety.org. or call 1-800-FIGHT-MS. This is why we're here. Because nobody dreams of having multiple sclerosis.
What's wrong with this picture? Half of young Americans can't locate economic powers like Japan and India. 20% can't even find the Pacific Ocean. Without geography, our children aren't ready for the world. Geography is everywhere. It's incredible creatures, rhythm, fashion, flavor. It's economics and politics. It's change. Understanding connections between people and places is critical in the 21st century. That's why we created mywonderfulworld.org. Go there now for your free parent and teacher action kits. and give our kids the power of global knowledge. Because kids who understand our world today can succeed in it tomorrow.
For Bettina Lawton here on Inside Scoop, Virginia. My guest this evening is Lisa Wetzel, who's the Executive Director of Our Daily Bread Fairfax. Thank you again, Lisa, for being here. I wanted to ask you some questions so that our viewers understand not only who our clients are, but how they come to us. What is the process through our organization for how these people come to us?
Right. Well, we get our referrals through social workers that are employed through Fairfax County, and then also through the Fairfax County Public School System. We also take referrals from other nonprofits. But every one of the referrals are vetted so that they are in need. And what's curious about that is that we are sometimes serving clients that you might not think are in need. And we see this again and again when we are when we have volunteers that are delivering food assistance, and and sometimes the house is maybe really nice, but sometimes you just don't know what is going on with a family and why that they are in crisis. They might have accumulated things in a nice house when both parents had jobs, but if they are both now not working, they're in crisis, and maybe they're looking to sell their house, but they still need to feed their family in the meantime. So you just never know what a client in need is going to look like. But our typical client is usually making $22,000 a year, and it's a single mom with maybe 2 kids, and the majority of them are working, or they're temporarily out of a job, or they are about to get another job. We provide emergency services to families for a very limited time. It's not we're not addressing a chronic need. It's really to prop up families that would otherwise be able to sustain themselves, and they've just had a financial crisis for whatever reason. So we give them that support and help them until they can find their financial footing. So food assistance, financial assistance, and then once they are stabilized, we'll try to provide them with financial literacy services.
Right, but they do roll off, and I think it's 3 months.
4 months.
4 months, and then
for the food program.
For the food, and so it's not a very long time to try to stabilize them, but that really is our role in the community, because there are other nonprofits that provide other services that we simply don't. And we mentioned jobs training before. It's one of the things that we don't do. Job counseling is one of the things we don't do. Housing is not one of the things that we do, but we certainly work in conjunction with other services that do.
Right, and an example of that, how we work together with other nonprofits, is that we have a pool of volunteers that we train to deliver financial education classes using FDIC's Money Smart curriculum. And so we have volunteers that we're teaching about 10 classes per month at maybe 15 different nonprofits throughout the year. During hypothermia shelter that provides sleeping arrangements for the homeless during the 4-month span during the winter time. Our Daily Bread volunteers will provide classes once or twice a week, and so it's a great partnership, because we can't do it all. Other nonprofits can't do it all, but I think that the trend is to find ways to work together.
On your financial literacy training classes, is this something that you would be willing to do, or Our Daily Bread would be willing to do for an employer who had
absolutely
a large number of minimum wage workers?
We have tried to get our foot in the door multiple times, but it's I'm not sure why, because we've got studies that show that if your employees are more financially stable, then they are going to be more focused at work and more productive. So even like if we could get into a Walmart, if we could get into a Marriott hotel, and if we could do like an early morning or a lunchtime brown bag class, that would be a terrific way to bring financial education to their
service workers.
Right.
I mean, because let's face it, I mean, these are all Marriott, for instance, a wonderful hotel. But the people who make the beds and do a lot of the service jobs, your porters or bellboys or whatever, they don't necessarily have jobs that are in the same wage category as other people who work for that corporation.
Right. But they need, and I find it interesting because when we have our financial counseling clinic, there's no there's no income limit to who can receive those services. Although we target, low-income families, but it's a generational gap.
It is.
I think
it
financial
is.
Education, personal finance. It just,
which is why they just added it to the Fairfax County curriculum.
SOLs.
Yeah, this is a module that students must take as part of their graduation requirements. They can take it online. I understand. My children did not have that, so my kids all graduated in the early 2000s, and
mine are getting it, and it's great.
I think it's important for everybody to have. But to your point, there was a whole gap of people, even who just did not get financial literacy training either at home or at school. And so therefore they're left not really understanding the very basics of financial education.
Right, and you're bombarded with the media, and it's buy now, pay later. And,
we're
it's
a consumer
easy to
culture.
It's easy to get sucked into that.
We're a consumer culture, and we're told all the time too that our economy is based on people buying things.
Right.
So, and that's from birth, from cereal to whatever.
Right.
The kids are taught that you go out and buy things, and this is a behavior that we should reward. Right. And I understand that, but I do think things have to change. And in this particular region, Fairfax City, Fairfax County, where we serve clients, people think it's a very affluent place. We do not always see, or we don't recognize is a better word, we don't recognize the people that we come into contact with every day, whether it's a bus driver or it's somebody who busses tables or whoever it is. I mean, we cannot see their story. Right. Therefore, we do not understand their struggles, or in some way, and there are many people who never go looking for services either. I mean, there are people who don't even know how to go looking for services, people who aren't going to find us. So the gala that is coming up to celebrate Our Daily Bread's 30th anniversary has a very interesting theme. Yeah,
it's called Do You See What I See? And it's your idea.
Oh, it was a pretty good idea.
But anyway, we jumped on it because we loved it. A lot of our fundraising events are tied to art. And this is a way to, in this idea, the concept of Do You See What I See is trying to engage the community to stand in somebody else's shoes and to express their ideas through their artwork, whatever medium they choose. And so this event will have artists that are using that theme. We've also got performers, a whole lineup of performers, and we have an artist who is live. He's going to be painting during the event. He's going to be capturing the essence of the atmosphere and the message of Do You See What I See? And he'll have the finished painting at the end of the event. So that's going to be really exciting. And we've invited former staff and former board members
over the 30-year span.
Over the 30-year span, and so I'm really looking forward to that. We have a very strong grassroots base over this that we have strengthened every year. And so it would just be really terrific to be able to see all of those supporters come out. I mean, we've got, 20 different congregations that supported us 30 years ago and are supporting us today. And so, I want everybody to come.
We know it's interesting too, and I think some people know us only through the holiday program, or I have run into people. True. So we who are on the inside talking about Do You See What I See? We see the core work that we do every day, 365 days a year as who we are. And yet the number of people who support us through the holiday program is by exponentially in November, December, suddenly the whole world. And so I think a lot of people that I have run into are like, oh, we do the holiday program. That's how they know us.
Right, well, it's great. It's actually a really great introduction. People want to sponsor a family for the holidays, and we work with a lot of other nonprofits and faith communities to run the holiday program, so it's not just us. But we serve as a clearinghouse for that holiday program. But at any rate, we get a lot of new people to Our Daily Bread, and they come into contact with families. It's an educational opportunity to expose their children to how someone less fortunate might be trying to make it, and so it's a educational opportunity, and then often we can hold on to those supporters the remainder of the year for other programs, other volunteering, and so that's really powerful, I think.
Well, I think, and again, at Christmas time, I think there's always
Everybody's
no matter who you
feeling
are,
altruistic.
everybody does something.
Everybody wants to give at Christmas,
and they
so
donate it.
during the holidays.
But during the summertime, talk about school children and programs that we have to try to support.
Sure. So this is another way that we work with other nonprofits. We are part of Collect for Kids, and so Collect for Kids is a model that was started by Kids Are First, and they were able to buy school supplies in bulk from Office Depot or Walmart, and then with donations they were able to purchase all the school supplies at a very deep discount. So when you would go out to purchase school supplies for $40 or whatever, we could actually purchase the same amount of supplies for $10.
Right.
So it really stretches the donor
quantity,
dollar. And we also like it because we know that the school supplies get to the children, get to the students, and we work with the social workers to identify the children in the school, and so they're very in tune to who needs school supplies really, and so we work with the PTAs and Rotary clubs, Kiwanis clubs, and to purchase those supplies and then deliver them to the schools, and then the schools deliver them to the children. So it's a terrific program.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up Kiwanis and Rotary and some of these other organizations that are not nonprofits that we work with to serve our clients, but there are multiple nonprofits who work to serve us as our daily bread. And so we're hoping to see a turnout of those folks on what date?
It would be May 2nd, and it's part of Spotlight on the Arts. It's one of the events featured in Spotlight on the Arts. It's going to be at the Sherwood Center in Fairfax City from 7 to 10. The tickets are $10. You can find out more information at odbfairfax.org. We are also on Twitter and Facebook, ODB Fairfax. Search for us that way. And it should be a really nice evening.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it, and I think the size of the Sherwood Center too. We've had empty bowls there. It holds quite a number of people.
Right.
So I think at this juncture, it's getting people. It's always hard to get people to buy those tickets in advance.
Yeah. But well, I hope that they do. Dolce Vita restaurant is going to be providing the food and the wine, and
how nice.
Yeah, they're
Dolce
they're
Vita.
good.
Yes, Joe and Sharon Ricciardi. They are lovely people. I know them well, and they have been great supporters of ours as well.
Yeah.
Very much appreciate having you here tonight to talk to us about our daily bread. I look forward to the gala on Friday, May the 2nd at the Sherwood Center, and it's odbfairfax.org for additional information, how to get tickets, and we hope to see everybody there so you can participate in supporting a very important nonprofit who supports the working poor here in our community of Fairfax City and Fairfax County.
I helped turn my child's public school into a whole new kind of school. One with a curriculum that really motivates kids. One that has extended hours, 6 days a week, year-round. With loads of academic, cultural, and recreational activities. One that has support services like medical and dental right there. A school where parents' involvement is encouraged, where teachers have more time to teach, and students are excited about learning. There's just one problem. My child doesn't ever want to come home. You can help turn your school into a community school for excellence. Find out how. Call 1-877-LOVE-TO-LEARN.
It's coming. Right to your neighborhood. And when it does, you may be surprised. It's your Social Security statement of your benefits, and it's going to help you plan your financial future. Your benefit statement will tell you how much Social Security you're eligible to receive and when you'll get it. Then you'll know how much you need to save for retirement, because that's coming too. The future is in your hands. Choose to save.
The toxic fumes from this meth lab are seeping into Jamie's sinus cavity. Ammonia vapors invade her throat. Toxic gases fill her lungs. Jamie's body is deteriorating. And she doesn't even know it.
Jamie, dinner.
So, who has the drug problem now? Find out how meth affects you at drugfree.org/.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
I need a job.
Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Catherine Reed. I'm filling in tonight for Bettina Lawton here on Inside Scoop, Virginia. My guests this evening in our second segment are from the Martin Luther King Jr. Cultural Foundation. And joining me is Mary Ann Hovis, who is chair of the events committee, and Rodney Scott, who is chair of the scholarship committee, and both of them are on the board of directors of the Martin Luther King Jr. Cultural Foundation. So scholarships, very big thing right now because a lot of college seniors are looking for how they're going to pay for all those acceptance letters for the colleges that they hope to get into. And so there is an event this week. It's on Thursday, April the 17th. And I will let Mary Ann tell you a little bit about the history of the foundation and how they came to be so involved in the scholarship program.
Well, I'll give part of that to Rodney because he knows more about the history. He was there before I was, actually. But the foundation was started by a group of people in Reston who felt that, that they should give more to the community. The board is a all-volunteer board. We now expand throughout all of Northern Virginia. And we have several events a year. This event we refer to as our Dreammaker event. For two reasons. We are honoring people who are living and making the dream come true, and we are giving scholarships to young people who are involved and can continue the dream. And I'll let you talk about the scholarship.
The scholarship program started in 1999. We gave 2 scholarships to students at South Lakes High School. And I was involved at that point and have been since that time. Then we went to, I think, to 5 students after that, and then we have grown to 15 students this year. They are $2,000 scholarships for the first year and $2,000 the second year. The second year involves an application, which is no more than just having your grades sent to me. And if you have done well, then the application goes in, and the second $2,000 is paid to you in your sophomore year. But over the years, over those 16 years since 1999, we have met and paid something in the neighborhood of about $300,000 in scholarships to young people, students who have gone to every kind of school that you can think of. The Manhattan School of Music, Brown University, Northern Virginia Community College, which is one of my favorite schools, Stanford University, Louisiana State University, Hampton University, Howard University, any number of universities all over the country. We have
so tell us a little bit about what is the profile of a student who applies for scholarship? I mean, who are these students who apply?
The students who apply are students of all races and creeds from all over the area. And as Mary Ann said, we have just taken in the Northern Virginia area completely, well, not completely. We are doing Arlington County, Alexandria, Fairfax, Prince William,
Loudoun. That's far sweeping, Prince William and Loudoun as well.
Absolutely, and we are getting somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 some odd applications each year, and this was just the first year. So it's maybe just a tad bit slow for this year, but it is the first year. But the average student has somewhere in the neighborhood of a 2.5 to a 4.0 grade point average. They have done tremendous work as far as their work as community service work in the schools and in the community, and we ask for verification on that. The students have done well as far as their grades are concerned, and we ask for a written essay about what are you going to do to help others in the future? What would you do with a earned college degree? How are you going to help somebody else? To follow what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was asking, you need to give back to your community. So we are asking those students to do that very same thing. Tell us what you're going to do, and that helps you qualify for the money.
One of the things that I love is in honoring the people that you're honoring, and I'll ask you to tell us a little bit about this year's honorees. These are people who embody the beliefs of Martin Luther King Jr. and everything that he stood for, and clearly it represents role models for these scholarship recipients every year to see the people you hope they become.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I think it makes a great impression on our students, and they will all be there Thursday night to receive their scholarships and to be honored. But our Dream Makers are, and the reason we call it our Dream Maker Award, we believe these are people who've helped perpetuate the dream. And we are honoring 3 people this Thursday night. The first is Bernie Cohen.
Love that man.
Bernie is 80 years old now. He was the attorney. He did it for free for in the case of Loving versus Virginia. He won it in the Supreme Court in 1967, and many people don't realize that it hasn't been that long ago where interracial marriage was illegal.
Yeah.
And they showed up at these folks' home in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock in the morning and drug them out of bed and arrested them. It took several years. Bernie won it, and not only overturned that law in Virginia, but the rest of the country. By that time, there were 16 states that had a law so he's made an impact on a lot of people's dreams.
Oh, and
lives.
it has continued because the judge, Arinda Allen Wright, who made a determination about the marriage ban amendment here in Virginia, referred to Loving versus Virginia, and said this was not right for this group. This is not right here.
And it's not right for any group.
So yeah, it's echoing even today.
He's made a long-term impression. The second one is Dr. Ralph Northam. He is the new Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, but he's being honored here for his work with children. He is a pediatric neurologist, and he, on a volunteer basis, works at the Children's Hospice and is chair of the board of the Children's Hospice in that area. So he's being honored for his work with children. The third is Reverend Richard Smallwood. Most people don't call him Reverend. Most people who know him as a Grammy Award-winning gospel singer. He's, I don't know, had how many Grammy Award-winning records and won every sort of honor that you could, and is in the Gospel Music Hall of Fame. But he started, his mother was quite active with foster children in the DC area. And he started a foundation in her honor to continue that work with education and helping foster children in all walks of their life. And so we're honoring him for that. So he's honoring his mother, we're honoring him.
That is always a great group of people. I love your Dream Makers. I remember the year that Hank Aaron came.
Yes.
Goodness me. That was, I don't know if that broke attendance records, but there were a lot of people there that year. But these truly are the kind of people you hope these scholarship award winners become.
Yes, because he not only broke baseball records, he also he didn't take his money and run. He's been working ever since to help students and help children and help others get their education.
And that is, there is an emphasis on community service now in high schools, and so students are raised in a very different way than I was in the when I went to school in the 60s and 70s about the importance of community service. But I think with the scholarship program, what you're doing is helping them to understand that this is a long-term investment.
Absolutely.
That's what you're looking for in their essays. Who reads your essays? I mean, how do you decide who gets the scholarship?
We have a group of people that I guess about 8 people, they happen to be ladies, who read the scholarships and make an evaluation. And it's one of the toughest jobs that exist in the whole foundation as far as I'm concerned. I separate all of the applications. My wife helped me this year because I had an eye surgery, and she wouldn't let me do anything. So we separate all the applications and we get them to the readers, and they go through those applications and with a fine-tooth comb and read those applications and then concentrate on the essays to determine who will be the winners. And in many cases, in most cases, the evaluators come back and say, well, this person says that they will be able to give back and it may be a giving back in America, or it may be giving back to maybe something that they grew up with in their own country, because we have so many students who come from other places and so many families that come from other places, which it kind of touches on the pathway program that we touch through NOVA.
Right.
And a lot of those students are maybe very new to America, and they see needs in their country, and they are bound and determined to be able to help in those areas. And so we are bound and determined to give them the money so that they can do that.
So one of the more interesting parts of your scholarship program is that you offer money in the second year. Now there's, I got scholarships my senior year in high school, and I ended up transferring schools in my sophomore year because there was no more money. There was no more scholarship money. And it's very tough. Believe me, I more than anyone understand how hard it is to get scholarship money. I went away to school in Boston and then discover, wow, there is no way I can have a work-study job that's ever going to make up for the difference. So you're offering them a second year.
We're offering them a second year, and that's even if they decide to attend another school in that second year. If they are in school, if they have done well that first year and they are enrolled in that next year's schooling at another place, then the money will follow. All we need to know is that they are doing well.
We also assign them a mentor.
Absolutely.
Our board members are mentors. Some members of the community who have volunteered to be mentors are mentors. And the mentors, in some cases it's a very close relationship, in some cases it's checking in on a regular basis with one another, because some students are more independent
than others. It's a personality thing.
And it's a personality thing. But knowing that it's necessary to at least check in with your mentor and let them know how your grades are doing in order to get that second year is a bit of an incentive. But we've found that many of the students and their families, and particularly some of these students you're talking about, are really happy to have someone to touch base with. And the mentor, can do everything to take them to lunch or take them to school, or just keep in touch with them and make sure that they are doing well. And almost more importantly, if they have a problem, they know they've got someone to turn to.
And I think a mentor-mentee relationship, that's exactly what it's designed to do, because a lot of times for your students from families that are newer to America, the parents can't really help. They don't know the right person to contact, the right question to ask. It's a matter of understanding how the system works, and that's really truly what mentors are there to do, provide information you cannot get from a source like your family. And so I think it's great that you offer that, because again, I don't know of any scholarship programs that have a mentor that go along with your scholarship.
Right.
And I can think that would probably be one of the most important things that you have to offer.
Absolutely. Some of the problems that the students are running into is exactly what you talked about, leaving one school and going to another, and we don't know it. Well, you need to let us know.
You need to have somebody to keep in touch with.
And that mentor steps in and helps us with that.
That's great. When we come back, we're going to delve a little bit more into the specifics of the program. And I want to hear more about the gala that we're going to have on Thursday and who's going to be there. So please stay tuned, come back and join us and find out more about the Martin Luther King Jr. Cultural Foundation 2014 Dreammakers Award Gala.
I need a job.
Necesito trabajo. I would like to speak English better. Me gustaría hablar inglés mejor.
I want to be a U.S. citizen.
Quisiera ser ciudadano de los Estados Unidos.
For over 35 years,
Por más de 35 años,
the Hispanic Committee of Virginia has been serving our community.
el Comité Hispano de Virginia ha estado sirviendo a nuestra comunidad.
Job training and placement,
Capacitación, ayuda para conseguir trabajo,
education for children and adults,
educación para niños y adultos,
immigration, naturalization, and medical referrals
ayuda para los procesos de inmigración y naturalización y orientación sobre médicos
are a small part of what we do.
son solo una pequeña parte de lo que hacemos.
For help, information, or to volunteer,
Para ayuda, información o para ofrecerse como voluntario,
contact the Hispanic Committee of Virginia,
comuníquese con el Comité Hispano de Virginia,
helping everyone participate more fully in American society.
ayudando a todos a participar plenamente en la sociedad norteamericana.
Hey Lena, where's yours?
Would you notice if you were missing half your kidney function? According to the National Kidney Foundation, 20 million people have chronic kidney disease, and 20 million more may be at risk and not even know it. Anyone with high blood pressure, diabetes, or family history of chronic kidney disease is at risk. Early diagnosis is vitally important. To get the whole story, talk to your doctor and visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org or call for a free brochure. Because when it comes to chronic kidney disease, you might not know the half.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hello, welcome back. I'm Catherine Reed. I'm filling in for Bettina Lawton here on Inside Scoop, Virginia. My guests tonight are Marianne Hovis, who is the events chair for the Martin Luther King Jr. Cultural Foundation, and to her left is Rodney Scott, who is the scholarship chair. Both of them are on the board of directors of this foundation, and they were telling us before the break about how the scholarship program has been in place since 1999. They have helped numerous college off to college students, and but to the tune of about $300,000. Right. And so before our break, we were talking about the kind of students that the foundation's looking for, and how community service, a commitment to giving back, is a very important part of this. And you know, you were talking about how hard it is to read these essays, but what interests me a lot too is that these students are not necessarily competing on grades.
No, not necessarily on grades alone. We're talking about grades plus service to the community and service in your school. What have you done in order to help another person, to maybe be a tutor in your school? Maybe you have done something at one of the universities, maybe to help another, to gain a tutoring situation, or to maybe assist another student there. Or maybe in high school or elementary school. Or maybe you've become an Eagle Scout and you're helping other Scout troops with your skills and what you're working at. So there are many ways that they can give back to their community, other than just just doing something.
It's interesting because there was an article in the New York Times yesterday. It was an op-ed piece by Adam Grant on raising a moral child, and how difficult it is to raise a moral child in a culture that emphasizes achievement. And so this scholarship, it's not that you don't expect these students to achieve, but to Adam Grant's point, you have to look at people's character and raising a person of a whole piece of cloth, which is not just smarts, and it's not just success is defined by very narrow limits, but you're really talking here about someone who has good grades and a lot of ambition, who wants to go to college, but somehow they've distinguished themselves by demonstrating a commitment here and a willingness to give back long term. How do you determine on the part where, you know, they'll get out of college and uphold that commitment that they've expressed they have? How do you have a feel for that when you read these applications? One
way we do is looking at the students' recommendations that are given from individuals, might be teachers or people in the community. In one case, we have a young man who will be the speaker on Thursday evening, and his elementary teacher wrote the recommendation for him. Wrote one recommendation for him.
But still, your elementary school teacher.
Your elementary school, and he had the highest recommendations for this young man, and he talked about his character and how well he performed in elementary school, middle school, and high school. He has kept track of this young man, and they have talked back and forth, and the young man has just been exemplary in everything that he's done. So when you start talking character, you can't get much better than that written word that person who's written that recommendation comes back to you after 6 years or so.
That's
and
impressive.
Says, you know, I'll say something very, very good about this young man. And I mean, as it turns out, as the speaker for the students this year, he is one heck of a young man, bound for Stanford University in engineering. Wow. And Marianne was saying earlier that Stanford did not select a lot of students this year. And
yeah, I
he is
just
one
heard
of
on the
those.
national news that Stanford actually had the lowest acceptance rate of any.
Yeah, I just heard same thing on the news today.
But we also have, in addition to this student, the student getting the scholarship this year speaking, we like to get our students from previous years involved. And this year, the invocation will be given by a young lady who got the scholarship in 2003 and is now an assistant pastor at a church in Bethesda, Maryland.
Wow, that's
and
impressive.
So she will do that. In the entertainment, we always have this wonderful jazz band that is Janie Gilbert Carter, who is always there and terrific. People love her. But we have a student who is a senior at VCU who got our scholarship 4 years ago, and he will be coming back and playing with the band. He's majoring in music and has his own band and is coming back to play
And
with the
isn't
band.
that great to have that
Yes.
ongoing relationship with
Yes.
your previous scholarship winners?
Absolutely.
Again, I don't know of any other organization that I have experience with that collects a community on an ongoing basis, because I do think when we start to talk about issues of character, which is I think new in a scholarship program, maybe not, but the fact that you expect these young people to come back and model for the upcoming scholarship award winners, a more recent than your dream makers being honored. It's
Yes.
kind of like these people are a little bit ahead of you, but
Yeah.
this is what they've achieved and this is what
and
they're
this
doing.
is what we expect.
And this is what, setting
Yeah.
expectations is
This
very
what we
important.
expect.
I think that is most important. If you set an expectation and the student meets it, I think they'll continue to meet it. We haven't had very many students who have failed at meeting that expectation because it's set. It's something that we are expecting.
So speaking of our students, you were mentioning during the break too that there are tickets left for Thursday.
There are. We have a few tickets left. You can go onto our website. It's mlkculturalfoundation.org. If you go on mlkculturalfoundation.org/event, it'll take you right to the page to buy a ticket. If you can't come and you would like to buy a ticket for one of the students, because we have invited a student and one of their parents, we'd like to have both, but we have to get what we can afford. And so if you'd like to purchase one of those tickets, you can do that online also. And we would really appreciate that donation.
Is there a designation for that on the website? If somebody wants to buy a ticket like
Yes,
I
there
can't
is.
come.
There is. But I would like to purchase this ticket to support a student.
That would be terrific, because wouldn't it be nice if both parents could come with their students?
Yes. And the first tickets go to the student, and the second goes to one parent, and then if we have some left over, we'll go back to the students and see if they have another parent who would like to come. So if you want to support the students.
So I look at this, I say no excuses. It's kind of like, oh, I can't come Thursday. I'm like,
but come if you can, because it's a wonderful night.
I will be there.
You'll leave feeling better.
Oh, you absolutely will. I have loved it every year. I take pictures of the students every year. I love it every year. And it does make you recognize the fact that with ambition, and I think that's part of this too. I mean, these kids want it badly enough to go through the whole process and to put themselves out there. And again, some of these kids come from families where maybe they're the first person in their family to go to college.
We have a couple this year who are, I believe. The other thing I want to emphasize is it's important to these, not only the money, which is obviously very important, but to get a scholarship that is named after Dr. Martin Luther King is meaningful. It's meaningful in that they understand what that means. And particularly this last couple of years when we've been talking about Dr. King and talking about the things he's done, I think it makes it very meaningful to the students and to their families to know that they got a scholarship named for him.
Oh, I would agree with that too. And so tell me where you find your mentors. And you said some of them are board members, but let's say somebody's like, this sounds like something I would like to do. How would somebody be a mentor to these students?
Contact us. Our vice president of our Adele Jones handles our mentor program. If you contact us, she'll contact you, find out what your interests are, and we'll line them up as a mentor to one of our students if it works. And so contact us. We can always use. I want to emphasize one other thing. Our board, we have no paid employees. We are all volunteer
organization.
Our board is a working board.
It's tough.
Absolutely.
Trust me,
It's tough.
Rodney and I have been working a lot this last few weeks. It's a working board. And and we also have a membership program, and many of our members are mentors. And it costs all of $50 to become a member, and then you get all of our information. And many of our members, we give them the opportunity to be mentors if they would like to.
And that brings us to another point, because I'm a member of the Cultural Foundation, and you've got other events throughout the year too. So this is the one that's most imminent because it's this week. But you also throughout the year you have two other big ones.
Right. In the fall, we do our Outstanding Educator Award. We honor the people who with the dream and the students here, and the person in the middle of that are the educators. And by educators, we don't necessarily mean teachers or people in the education system, although many of them are. But many of them aren't. Many of them are companies who have taken on schools and helped, or fraternities who've done that, or other groups, or people who have, people who've done things to help over and above their jobs to help the children in our community and in their education. So that's in the fall. We have a lunch, and we honor our outstanding educators. We also accept applications for that. If you want to nominate someone, get in touch with us. Again, you can go, our website's going to be under construction right after this, so it'll be down for a little bit, but Hewlett-Packard, who is one of our major supporters,
yes, I remember that.
They are redesigning our website for us and putting it back up. Yay. So.
That has to be done periodically. It's just one of those things.
It'll look better. It got hacked very badly this year. And so they're taking it over. They're going to fix it all for us, and we're going to look better by the summer. So if you want to nominate, the form will be on the website, and you can nominate someone. And then in January, we have our diversity event. This is a by invitation event. All of our members are invited. Last year, we had Dr. Ransamy, who was at Northern Virginia Community College in Manassas, give a wonderful, with avatars and all sorts of wonderful things. And then we had one of the, I think it's 5 now, remaining Tuskegee Airmen who was actually a pilot in World War II. He came up from Florida. He was just intriguing.
He was
intriguing. So that's a by invitation. That's to celebrate the diversity of our community.
That's fantastic. Well, let me just circle back one more time before we wrap up to find out, you've gotten your scholarship award winners for this year, but already looking toward next year. How do students find, we've got viewers out here saying this sounds like a wonderful organization and a wonderful scholarship program. How do I apply for this thinking about next year?
Hopefully next year we'll be able to go to the website, and the application will be online, and hopefully complete everything online and send the application in to me completely electronically. And then electronically I'll send it to the readers from there. We've been handling a lot of paper for the past several years, and this year I thought we were going to make the change, but as Marianne said, the site was hacked and we had some other issues that went on. But this year we're hoping fully that we can go online and make it a fillable form right there online, and then everything goes from there. The students may have to have maybe recommendations sent paper-wise, but other than that, we will handle it from there. And all students need to do is go to that same website, www.mlkculturalfoundation.org, look for the scholarship information and fill out the information online. That's our hope.
That's fantastic.
Well, they're going to do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, just remember, this Thursday, there's still tickets left. Buy a ticket for yourself, buy a ticket for a scholarship recipient.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us. Tonight, I'm filling in for Bettina Lawton, who will be back in her regularly scheduled slot very soon. Thank you so much for joining us.